It is mid-February, and I'm out on my 75-acre farm. I got out here the other day for the first shed hunt of the season. It was in the 40s last week, and we got some rain, so it knocked down quite a bit of this snow, and we had a lot of snow. There was a couple feet in the woods. In fact, in some places it's still over my knee boots. But I did happen to find a couple of fresh antlers, a matched set actually. First one I found was really chewed up though. Something found it right away and chewed the heck out of the tines already. And then a couple hundred yards away, I actually did find the other side. I went to find them a week ago because the one was for sure buried a week ago, and the one that was chewed up here real bad, I might have found it earlier, but they did shed pretty early this year. We had a really stressful winter right from the beginning. And so what I'm going to do is, which is really hard for me to leave a fresh antler out in the woods to be chewed up some more, but I'm going to find out what's been eaten on this antler. If anything, it'll give me something to target for small game hunting this fall, because I don't like it none of us like it when we find antlers and they're all chewed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it back out where I found it, and I'm going to set a camera up on it to take 30-second videos, see what's been chewing on it. I've always been curious. I'm thinking it's probably a gray squirrel or a red squirrel here, but I don't know, maybe there's a porcupine or something else around. It's not a mouse. It's been chewed on more than that. Would have actually been a good day to shed hunt this morning. It's down to -3, so all this snow that got rained on, I'm walking right on top of it. It wasn't like this the other day. It was really tough going. This is the area where I found the shed the other day. It's right under actually a couple of apple trees here. They're coming up, and they're coming up from the woods across the valley there. And they're loitering around right here, and then they'll go out and eat in my corn food plot. There's about a half acre of corn right here along the road. I had some brassicas in here. I did a video with my roller in it late last summer. And then I have another couple acres of corn down in the valley down below there. But anyway, this is where I found the antler, so I've got it laid out right about where, right in the general area. I found it actually right over here the other day, but got my camera set up low. This is a Amazon special, $70 camera called Guard Pro. I'll put a link to this camera in the description. They're $70, or right around $70. They take the best video out of any trail camera that I've ever used, and I've used quite a few different ones, but you'll see hopefully later in this video some good video that was taken of whatever it is chewing on that antler. First thing that came by was in the middle of the night. It was a raccoon. Didn't really seem to show any interest. Then the next morning a gray squirrel came by, took a little sniff, and then moved on. And then the next thing were some turkeys, and the shed was gone. Now I had the camera set on 5-minute delays between the 30-second videos. So somewhere in that 5 minutes, that squirrel dragged that off, or something else came by and it just didn't get caught on camera. But at this point, I had suspected that it was the gray squirrel that came back in front of the camera after 30 seconds of the initial video and then dragged it off somewhere. And then later on that night, a rabbit showed up and then ran off. I came back a couple days later to just check on the antler and switch out the camera card. And I couldn't see it there, but after a very brief search, I spotted it off to the side. It was only 20 feet away or so, but it had been dragged off by something. And so I figured I might as well anchor it to the ground. So I went back and brought a impact drill, a chunk of wire about 18 inches long, and a 6-inch lag bolt, and decided I'm going to anchor this thing to the ground in front of the camera so that whatever shows up again isn't going to be able to just drag off the antler. I also brought a second camera with me out there and attached it to an adjoining tree so that I could hopefully get some video from a different perspective. First thing to come by after that was a young deer, and it sniffed it out of curiosity and then just kind of walked off, really not seeming to be too interested in it other than that. The next day, a gray squirrel kind of wandered into the scene and then went back out again, didn't pay any attention to it. And then later on, there was a number of deer that walked by. But again, I didn't have anything happen that day as far as moving or chewing on the antler. Looks like the deer actually bumped the camera with its nose and it spooked it a little, but not enough to run itself or the other deer off. And then finally that next morning, a gray squirrel shows up, sniffs it a little bit, and then a few minutes later comes back and just starts having a feast on that antler. So that basically confirmed what has been chewing on this antler. That gray squirrel, he had eaten his share and then some. And I don't believe it was the only squirrel, because eventually I get a picture on the other camera of another squirrel in the background. So I think that he probably had a little help here chewing on that antler as well. I never did get video of two of them chewing on it at once, but there's plenty of squirrels around. And after a while, it looked like this squirrel kind of got done feeding on the antler and then started just eating some snow, which I suppose they have to stay hydrated also, and they don't really have water to choose from in the winter. So it's kind of interesting to see this squirrel actually just eating some snow before he ran off and, who knows, went back to his nest or whatever. Later that night, a few deer had walked by, and we had gotten enough snow to bury the antler. So the next day I came out and dug it out of the snow, and I could tell that something had chewed it down more from when I left it there a few days prior. So now that the mystery was solved, I decided to take down both cameras. Turns out I didn't switch the second camera into video mode, but at least this time around I remembered to turn it on and actually had a SD card in the thing.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?